Hello everyone, Starsector tutorial on stealth and smuggling. Basically, all you need is stealth. The smuggling is just a little tiny bit, I explain later. Now, if you're already familiar with most of Starsector, I begin with a quick and easy way to show you how you get a really stealthy ship. So we're looking at the Atlas. That has a sensor profile of 300, which is a lot. Now, we can make this thing really stealthy with two mods. We're down to 15. So what's the trick? Insulated engine assembly. S-modded reduces everything by 90%. And since it's a civilian hull, we need militarized subsystems because that increases the sensor profile. And with militarized subsystems, you reduce that penalty. And in comparison, an unmodded Hound, which is a frigate, which is the smallest ship you can command in this game, has a sensor profile of 30. So you can have a better sensor profile in an S-modded Atlas with 2000 cargo capacity than with a regular Hound with a cargo capacity of 75 and a sensor profile of 30. So you can even increase that furthermore if you add a phase ship to your fleet, but not all phase ships apply. They must have phase field. Basically, all the ships, as far as I know, have it except the Gremlin and the Grandin. Here, like the Phantom has it, the Afflictor. And of course, skill-wise, you ideally get sensors. Because here you get detected range reduced by 25%. And your burn level at which the fleet is considered moving slowly is increased by 3, which is important for terrain for height. So this is the quick and dirty part of the guide. Now, let's go into the whole mechanics and everything. So I explain everything in more detail and from ground up. So first off, the basic mechanics are basically you have sensor strength for each ship and a sensor profile. So the sensor strength plus the enemy sensor profile is the range where you can detect the enemy. And of course, the other way around, the enemy sensor strength and your sensor profile determines this. So what is now there's the sensor profile of individual ships and of your fleet. The fleet sensor profile is 300 points plus the top 5 ship sensor profiles. So top 5, and that means the worst 5. So if we have like 5 of these in our fleet with only 15 sensor profile, but we have 1 of these in there, then we have basically this one and 4 of the other ones. For the fleet sensor strength, it's again the same, 300 plus 5 of the top ships with the sensor strength. Now, I personally generally don't care about sensor strength. Usually it's not important because if you have a really low sensor profile, nobody's gonna find you, or you detect them anyway way earlier because your sensor profile is so low. And generally the sensor profile, the larger the ship, the more it is. Now, then we have terrain effects. So basically, moving into certain terrains, like asteroid belts, ring systems, acceleration debris fields, reduces the sensor profile by 75% when stationary or moving slowly. This is where the skill sensors come in, that your max speed moving slowly is increased by 3. Without that, you are really slow to move slowly. Then for nebulas, you have detected minus 50% for magnetic fields, minus 50% for magnetic storms, minus 100 sensor profile, but also reduced sensor strength. Deep hyperspace and abysmal hyperspace, 50 and 75% reduced. So this is also, you can hide in asteroid fields. There are some planets or stations that are basically directly close to an asteroid field where you can move into that asteroid field or something and basically you are hidden. Or when you're running away, you run into a nebula usually. That's also possible. So what are the important mods? Basically, the important mods, as mentioned, or the most important mod, is insulated engine assembly. It reduces your sensor profile by 50, or FS modded by 90%. Then there is, if you have a civilian ship, so civilian grade hull, you also need or can use militarized subsystem because civilian grade hull improves your sensor profile by 100% and militarized subsystem reduces the negative effects of civilian grade hulls. Now there are also demods, degraded engines and faulty power grid increase your sensor profile. Now then there is one mod which you can't install, which is installed in almost all phase ships. Exceptions are the Grendel and the Gremlin. And this reduces the profile of the ship, but what is more important, also of your fleet. Here you see phase ships in fleet times 0.58. It's multiplied with that. So basically it's reduced by 42% at that point. So generally you have a small fleet, like you have a dedicated smuggling fleet, for instance. You have a few ships in there. And then ideally you put in a pirate shade or a pirate afflictor early on. And it improves your sensor profile even more. So now skills. Skills, most important one is sensors. Detected range is reduced by 25%. Sensor range is increased by 25%. So the enemy can see you later and you see him earlier. And then even more important, +3 burn level at which the fleet is considered moving slowly. So that's very important. If you move slowly in a terrain like asteroid field or nebula, then you're basically harder to detect. Now, not directly, but related, I think, is the navigation skill, because the terrain movement penalty is also reduced by 30%. So you can move way faster in an asteroid field or in a nebula as well. And you have also an additional maximum burn level, which never hurts. And you get also the ability to transverse jump. So this allows you to jump out of a system without a jump point and into a system without a jump point as well, which is really good for smuggling or going, for instance, in a redacted, in a highly dangerous star system without being detected, or without when all the jump points are covered, basically. And you jump in with your Revenant, ideally perfectly concealed, and you fly around and everything is done. Kind of related skills for early smuggling or general smuggling could be bulk transport, because here this increases your cargo capacity, fuel capacity, and personal capacity as well. And it also increases the burn level of all non-militarized civilian grade ships, although that's kind of probably won't work, because if they're non-militarized civilian ships, then they have a really bad sensor profile. And of course, ability-wise, is go dark. So this reduces everything by another 50%. Now let's look at some ship builds. Let's start with 3 different early builds. Now here we have the Hound, S-modded insulated engine assembly and S-modded expanded cargo hold. This gives us a sensor profile of 3 and a cargo capacity of 135. Now additionally, we have safety overrides and unstable injector. That increases our speed to 255 without any captains or anything else. So if you get caught, you can basically always run away. Now an alternative would be, or a supplement could be, the Cerberus. Here we have the exact same setup, and here we have 160 cargo capacity and also a sensor profile of 3. Now additionally, both of these have shielded cargo holds, which if you get caught and scanned might prevent the enemy from detecting contraband. I personally generally don't get caught, so I actually don't know how it works. I think if they do a scan, nothing happens, but if they board you and do a thorough inspection, they will find it. The other alternative, and probably the best early on smuggling ship, would be the Wayfarer. Here the same, insulated engine assembly and expanded cargo holds, S-modded, safety overrides, unstable injector, a speed of 195, and a cargo capacity of 240 and a sensor profile of 3. This ship is basically undetectable. Now in comparison, if you take the regular one, I mean, it only has a sensor profile of 30 and a cargo capacity of 150. So some additional builds for late game, or if you're really lucky and capture one or can buy one, there's the Revenant. Why is the Revenant so great? So the Revenant is a phase ship. So it comes with phase field, so it reduces its sensor profile and that of the fleet. So with an insulated engine assembly, this one has a sensor profile of 5, but it has a base cargo capacity of 600 and a fuel capacity of 900. Now, you can do one thing with that. You can go smuggling and everything and do raid pirate raids or something with your stealth fleet. But what you can also do is you go for, where is it? Serving equipment. And if you S-mod that, you get the serving costs are reduced by 40 supplies and 40 heavy machinery. Now, if you have 2 of these or 3, it's reduced by 80 or 120. And this ship is basically not detectable, and since it has a very strong fuel capacity, you can do long-range surveying missions and exploring around in the outer reaches of the galaxy without caring about nearly everyone, because you will see everyone, you can evade them, and you can go on the planets unless you need to fight. But usually with that setup, you can avoid every fight. Unless, of course, there are some missions or some places that are guarded. But a lot of the exploring usually is with unguarded areas. And even if you bring a few afflictors or doom or something along those lines, you can also deal with minor defenses. You can't deal with redacted, but you can deal with the old domain ships, for instance. Now, another interesting build is what I usually call my Black Ops build, where I take a Phantom and I build an insulated engine assembly. I mean, we need it. I mean, it says 30, but if we don't build it in, we have 15, which is already very good. And then you put in additional berthing. And if you want to go full hardcore, I mean, now it has like, it can take a crew of 260. And it has a sensor profile of 15. Now, if you S-mod both of these, we are now at a crew of 320, and it needs a skeleton crew of 5. So we can put on this ship 315 Marines and a sensor profile of 3. But it gets even better. We have advanced ground support building. Close support weapons and countermeasures for ground defense increase the effective strength of planetary raids by 200. So we go from 350 Marines to basically 515, if we have enough. So we need up to a total number of Marines in the fleet. So you need at least 200 Marines to get the 200 bonus. So, yeah, this is a pretty nice setup. Like, if you have this with a Revenant or just with the S-modded Atlas, you can raid a lot of systems and then sell to other systems the stuff on the black market. And for high capacity, I would generally go with the Atlas at the expanded cargo holds. Now we are at 2,600. Now if we S-mod expanded cargo holds, we have 3,200 cargo capacity with a sensor profile of 50. And what's important here is this is very low maintenance required. That is the main problem with the Revenant. The Revenant is really expensive, and I generally would add here for exploring expanded cargo holds, alternatively auxiliary fuel tanks, and then efficiency overhaul can't hurt you. That is the thing with the Revenant, it's really expensive because, I mean, it's a phase ship, delicate machinery and everything. With these setups, you can also do the deploy satellite missiles without requiring that you manipulate the sensor array. And yeah, you can do the nice combinations with raids, that you raid the enemy. And what I usually prefer is like, for instance, if you go full piracy, so intercepting, you get 1 or 2 dooms, few harbingers and afflictors, and then either, yeah, I usually go with atlases because they're more cost efficient, and then you intercept enemy merchant fleets. And if you're really good, you intercept them in hyperspace, you look where they were going, and then usually the stuff that you took from them is a shortage at their destination. And then you fly there and you sell the stuff. Send the contraband on the black market. And since they have now a shortage, you get a higher bonus. That's basically, that's not smuggling, that's piracy, yeah. I mean, it's combined with smuggling because you need to get in and sell it, but you have a complete stuff fleet. And that's what I do. Alternatively, you can also use this if you play the Nexerelin mod or something to basically weaken an enemy faction and strength them up one. For instance, what I did when I play pirates, I intercept usually trade convoys of hegemony. In Nexerelin, they are the strongest usually, and then deliver them to the pirates, which usually have a real lack of food and supplies and everything else. You prevent them from getting decivilized or something. So now let's do a test front. I set here up a small fleet and with only 2 S-mods to show that you early days you don't even need that much, yeah. So basically we have the setup like before and 1 insulated engine assembly and 1 here as well. And then here we have the same setup just with the insulated engine assembly not being an S-mod. So these have a sensor profile of 15 and these of just 3. So now we have everything loaded up. We have 540 heavy machinery which we want to sell at Crew in the Askonia system, I think, which is heavily militarized with a lot of patrols. We can see if we can do this or not. So let's take a look. So our sensor strength is that high, but our sensor profile is 131. Because we have like, yeah, you have the top 5 ships. And then we have going dark and sensor skill, which reduces it. Now, ideally, we put in an afflictor or a shade in this one as well, and then it's even reduced further. Oh, Askonia, we have, yeah, you see there's 3 military stations here, pirates, independent, and Syndria. I mean, you can try to go on Syndria. And if you jump, ideally go immediately going dark. So here's the situation. Here we can see this. So generally, if you see a military system, they are way more patrolled. But here we have an asteroid belt. Here we have an asteroid belt and we have a sensation disk or something. We have no nebula in here. And here's the listening station. Now it's controlled by the pirates. So if we introduce sensor readings in their wrongs, the pirates freak out. We don't care about the pirates. The problem is the Syndrian dictate. So let's move in, speeding up time a bit. And you can see here where they all flare up. And somebody did a sensor sweep. And now we move in here. And since we're going dark, we're going slow. Which means we have a sensor profile of 32 currently, because we have hiding inside the asteroid belt, which reduces everything with 75%. So here is a big battle going on, and here you can see the range of their sensors, and they barely reach the asteroid field. They might drive into the asteroid field, so we need to be careful. And let's go over here, and here we go. Keep in mind, with most planets, when there's a station, you can go to the station or to the planet. And that often matters. And of course, it depends on the faction. For independents and pirates, you can deal on all the markets. But with others, if you don't have the response on, you can only access the black market. I think Ludic Path, you can also access the other markets. I mean, the military markets are generally off limits. But yeah, sell some stuff here. But let's go over here. I mean, there are 2 stations, so there should be more patrols that might be harder. I mean, we probably can even go with... Yeah, that was probably not the best idea. Let's go dark. They're searching me now. Can they find me? I got interdicted, but... Yeah, nobody caught me. So that was not ideal. There was a bit much going on. But again, we are in the dust ring. So we reduce sensor profile. Let's go over here. And here, Crew, where we wanted to go. And yeah, there's still a deficit here. And we can sell them for quite a lot of profit. And can we get out again? We were in the sensor range of something. Now we have a mission here, apparently. And here again, we can move to the station or to the water vault. And even if we would get caught, This one has a max speed of 223, of course, because I'm also the captain. 273. So yeah, some of the speed also comes from skills. So we should also be able to run. I mean, let's test it out. Let's get... So, yeah, I think I don't need to show you that these ships are extremely fast. So you need to be in range of a comm relay that you can see the data on the deficit. And ideally for stuff like the best stuff for making money is usually drugs and harvested organs, although I think harvested organs have a lower margin. But drugs, and in the base game, they are usually produced at counters 10. And then you check where there's a lack in supply, and then you drive there, sell it off. And I personally prefer the pirate version, where you ambush idly in hyperspace enemy fleets, take their cargo and sell it to the original buyer or somebody nearby, depending. And for that, you ideally bring an Atlas or two, if they are big fleets, yeah. And if you have a Doom and decent amount of Afflictors and Harbingers, you can do this. Also with the Grendel, there's one channel that has a very good Grendel build, similar to, I think, what I used a while ago. Don't underestimate Grendels. You need insulated engine assemblies on those because they have, I think, at least 45 in the profile. I'm fine if they're at 30, more or less. I prefer everyone at 15 and one or two at 30. But 45 is a bit too much for me, but I think you can even manage that. So it's also a bit role-playing aspect, like, yeah, you want the insulated engine assembly because sometimes it feels too easy that way. I hope that helped. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. Thank you for watching and see you next time. Bye.